Okay, with that, let's kick it off. Today we're going to do a training on PPE for sales. Not only the type of PPE you'll be seeing, obviously these are some different times than we're used to, some items that you traditionally may not have carried with you before. When you're out doing sales calls and visiting customers, there's a lot of items with the whole COVID situation that you are going to need. I know Kelly has worked really hard at procuring these items and ensuring that they're now available to you. And I'm going to review them, walk through them, and then show you the new portal with the supply chain for procuring them for yourselves. So with that, I'd like to introduce everyone to a new Chromalox employee. I've been working with him all week. Perry Hawkins. Perry, you're out there.
I am here. Hello, everybody.
Yes, I appreciate you joining us. Perry is our new EHS director. I believe that's correct. And we're glad to have you. This is pretty much the outside sales team, some inside folks, and some other service individuals that will be walking through this presentation. Perry's reviewed this presentation with me today, and will probably provide his insight on some of the slides and some of the items as we go through, correct?
Definitely. And I look forward to working with each of you.
Perfect. Well, so much for the pleasantries. Let's get started. This is, like I said, we had given this presentation a year ago, but we've kind of updated it and specific to what will be available starting next week. You'll all receive an email, and I'll explain that in the end. Have your own log on to a portal that has these items available to you. Now, PPE, we all know, personal protective equipment, and also, FRPs are very much a part of our needed equipment when out visiting customers. It may vary by location, type of customer. So it's just important to maybe do a quick review, make sure you understand everything that's out there available, and specifically what you should be not only fit, but the function and what you should look for in your PPE. Some of the new items that I will talk to at the end will be, we're all living, like I said, in the COVID time here, the sanitizer, wipes, even thermometer, right? For site temperatures, that has become a requirement in some cases. And as we go back out on sales calls and customers start opening up their doors to us, Chromalox wants to ensure that you have the right equipment and you have it available. So let's get started. Eye protection. You've all seen me talk about this before. The actual impact rating standard is ANSI Z87.1. We should all hopefully be familiar with eye protection at this point, but there's a couple things to consider with it. Comfort, especially. You may have to wear it for an extended period of time. Also, you can get prescription eyewear is available, and I think Perry's going to work to make that available if you are in need. Something that actually got slightly worse is if you do require glasses, you put, goggles or something over that. Now you've got two levels. It can get clunky. And oh, by the way, now with COVID, in some cases, you're required to wear face shields. Personally, never had the need to wear one. Might be a requirement as you're out seeing customers, maybe even customers you already know about. So, very important to remember. They're also available to you. As far as, comfort and style, me personally, I have some of your sunglass, I guess, way of describing them, higher end glass manufacturers like Spy or Boley. If you go on their websites, you may find that they actually meet all those impact ratings and are qualified eye protection for most sites. So, something obviously on the designer end, Chromalox isn't going to supply. Everything else is available to you. I would suggest, though, if you are interested in that, go look and procure them yourself. But they are out there available. Something that comes up more and more as we've lived through these times is now face coverings, respirators, N95 masks. To cover those quickly, facial coverings, and depending on your state or codes or whatever, that is a requirement or some cases a request. Look, don't kid yourself. It's minimal protection for you. So which way you feel about it, that's fine, but it's protection for everyone else. That's why that's out there. So you will be, if you weren't before, you may find places where you're just required to wear a surgical mask or a facial covering of some sort. That would still qualify as PPE? Is that something we're going to provide? Well, yeah, we do have disposable masks. Now, when you get into the N95 masks, they're much more difficult. We talk about the PPE for our frontline people and stuff, and we want to be conservative in that. They are still very much hard to find. They're still very much difficult to procure. They are on the site I'm going to show you in a second. There's also a KN95, which is, for lack of a better word, kind of a knockoff that is also considered acceptable in most cases. That is available. That is out there. So look for that when I show you here in a second. And then, as we're doing sales calls, it's not that common to need a respirator, but there are some things that I would like to cover that everyone is clear on. So a respirator is, we're talking chemical present, maybe in paint applications and maybe chemical facilities, you may be required to wear one of these. If in case you are, it's important to check the regulations. In some cases, you have to fill out an OSHA. It's called an Appendix D. I got a link there if you ever need it. And essentially, you have to ensure that you're fitted for your respirator, meaning it's a good seal, it's a good fit, and that you understand how to use it. You have to show that. It's done either by a physician or in a clinic, and you have to obviously contact them, set a time, and go get that stuff signed off. I'm not saying that's something that's required for everybody in sales, but it's important for you to understand that. And of course, with a lot of things, you may or may not realize that there's an expiration, and that's handled through there'll be an indicator on the cartridge or the manufacturer's recommendation. You can see the little pink thing there, or the white thing down here. Those cartridges are clearly replaceable for a reason. You get a good fit on the mask, that part's done. The cartridges do go bad. They have an expiration date. Know that. And one some of you may be amused by or not is you cannot wear a respirator with facial hair. When I go visit Chevron or some of the oil sites, I have to shave. You have to fit it on. It has to have a good seal. So don't kid yourself. You're going to shave that day. So.
And let me just add that too. Once you take the filter out of the bag, it's constantly filtering. So the only way to stop that process is you have to put it in a resealable bag in order for the filtering to stop. So depending on what type of atmosphere that you're in, that respirator or that filter cartridge could be good for 8 hours. It could only be good for 2 hours. So you need to ensure what type of environment that you're entering. If it is an escape-only environment, because you may have the potential to be exposed to something like ammonia or chlorine, the filter will only last for 15 minutes. So be comfortable with the type of filter that you're using. Understand that once it's open, it's constantly filtering, and that you have the responsibility to check that information and change it as needed.
Very good point, Barry. Exactly, and that's a good point. So once you start using it, meaning breathing through it, once you open the bag and install the cartridge, once the bag is open, the clock starts on that thing, and that's what you should prepare and work towards. When you say resealable bag, Perry, I mean that is Ziploc bag, or is it? I mean anything specific?
A Ziploc bag will do it.
There you go. So just know how to manage that and know what you're doing when you are required to wear a respirator. Doesn't come up often, but there's certainly some things you need to know and some instruction you need to follow. And you always have Perry or myself or anyone else to contact to discuss that and help you with that as well. Hearing protection. We've all come across this. Some of you actually carry earplugs with you. Some of you have special earplugs, and then majority of us, honestly, when you get to the facility, they'll have the little dispenser by the door and they pop them down. not a whole lot to discuss on this. You just want to make sure that, you know, you got a good fit, you got a good seal. I did put the chart here on decibel levels based on hours. This would indicate when damage can occur. And so, you know, basically I believe regular voice is the low 80 decibel in a conversation like we're having now. It goes up pretty quick, actually. I mean, if you think at 90 decibels, that's the lawnmower getting kind of loud. Handle that for 8 hours, but that gets a little old. And it basically ramps up from there. And damage can occur pretty quickly in a short matter of scale on the decibel scale. So you have to be cautious. You know that's there. And if you're ever in concern or worried about that, one, you should be wearing the ear protection to begin with. But two, there are also apps available on ISO and Android. Download them on your phone. You can turn on the app, monitor it, and you can see if you're in a danger zone of noise or you're going to cause damage. And that's certainly something you want to be very cautious of, because you can never get your hearing. You never want to really damage your hearing because it just doesn't get any better, right? Okay, hard hats. This is one of my pet peeves. For those of you, most of you, I hope, understand that there's a lifespan on a hard hat. Some of you may not. There absolutely is. If there's ever any question of whether your hard hat is good or bad, its average lifespan is 5 years. Some places accept up to 7. So you go and it has a manufacturer time date on it, stamp. You'll see it right here, molded into the hat underneath the brim. That's where you find it. It's actually physically a part of the hat. You will absolutely know it's there. Now, if the hat's damaged, torn up, I get that's all relative to your interpretation of that. But I imagine if it's bangs, deep scratches, and stuff like that, it's not in good condition. You need a new hat. Should take care of it. I know a lot of people just throw these in their truck and in their trunk and they bounce around and they do get tore up. Take care of your hard hat. It's there for your safety. Something I just learned personally, and I did not know this, the ratchet system. You always wonder why that piece comes loose and you have to push it in the plugs and tighten it to your head. It actually expires after 1 year. Now, I've personally never had anybody check that, because I don't know how well known that is, but I think that's very important. I'm really glad Perry brought that up to me earlier, because you're right. The fit changes, the thing wears loose. That is only good for 1 year. So you can always get replacements really quickly. Keep the same hard hat. It's up to you, or get a new hard hat. Speaking of new hard hats, and this has been a thing with Chromalox for years, we do have Chromalox hard hats, which is why I have it here pictured on the left. They are going to be available on the site. Currently, as of today, when I took the caption, there was 19 of them. Don't have a mad rush to get them all, but they will be available next week. Also, they have to meet, electrical protection and all that. But another thing, there is available with the brim all the way around the hat. That's not always accepted on site. Be careful. I mean, you kind of want the ball cap design and no bump caps. They don't count. You don't wear those on site. They're not professional. That's not what you should do. Something I did skip over was color of the hat itself. Website has white. You will come across cases on site where a contractor has to wear a blue or an orange or a yellow hat. Just know that ahead of time. Sometimes you can ask. Usually 99% of the time they will have a helmet there for you to wear. Fair enough. Moving on, safety shoes. And so there's several things to mention about the safety shoes. Obviously you want impact, cushion. They will have an electrical protection rating. You want to make sure that you have that. Slip resistance, very important. Now, they're never the most comfortable thing out there, but you really want to select a shoe that you're at least comfortable in for 8 hours. Perry mentioned something earlier, noticed something that didn't even occur to me. I'm pointing here to the tread on this construction site ones. If you wore those for 8 hours, you would be hurting. So, maybe something like a Timberland brand, a little smoother sole. Remember, you're going to have to be walking on these. You're going to have to be, upright, on sites, pacing around. You want something that you're very comfortable in wearing. They do offer some in a safety shoe that are not exactly solid toed. I'm not sure how to describe that the best, but if it's a composite toe, it has to be hard toed. You can't have any soft toes. Just don't waste your time, don't waste your money. No place is going to accept it, and do not take the labels out of them. They have to stay labels that states what they are. Not sure if you have anything else on that, Perry, or
Yeah, the only thing I would recommend in terms of the tread, you want no more than 1/8 of an inch of tread. That's usually the criteria for slip resistant shoes is 1/8 of an inch of tread.
okay, well, that's not bad. That's um, okay. So, well, actually, that brings up a good thing, Perry. I mean, as they get worn too, I assume after the tread's worn down, much like your tires on your car, it's time for a new pair.
It's time for a new pair. Exactly.
Yeah. So watch that as well. You may see the the worn ones in the picture are my own. Um, they've seen some days. I should probably check them myself. I may be due for a new pair, but we'll check on that later. Now, on to clothing, some FRP stuff. It all depends on the site requirements, right? You're on a gas site, are you on a chemical site? What but Nomex is available. The name DuPont. Something I do want to show you that was not available to us before, but is now and may become quite relevant are the Tyvek and the semi-permeable, the breakaway and in most cases throwaway ones. Either because of new requirements on site, maybe in some agricultural things and stuff like that. These are very much required. We have those available. They're inexpensive. Depending on your territory and the type of customers you call on, you may want to think about ordering a few of these. And then we have the traditional coveralls as well available. You know, but as we said here, the garment needs to match your job and description and what it is where you're visiting and what it is you're doing. If you ever have any question about the category or the type of application you're going, Carhartt actually has a nice link here, and we'll describe exactly what that area meets for what garment you're doing based on a category of 1 to 4. It's pretty simple from there. Next, gloves. Kind of a personal pet peeve of mine. These are not gloves, in my opinion. I don't. No, no business you're going to go see is going to accept that. Safety gloves, should be, on a category of abrasive resistant, cut resistant, tear resistant, puncture. It's safety of your hands, your fingers. Now, arguably, as on the sales side, we're not going to be, we shouldn't be doing hands-on as much. Still doesn't mean you shouldn't be safe about it. So gloves are available. At a minimum, they need to be cut resistant. Let's say you're doing heat trace or something like that, or if you're just simply doing a training and showing them. If you cut your own hand on their site, that's still their fault. So you've got to be cautious. You should take the right equipment. It is available to you. Now, like any of this equipment, comfort and dexterity is going to be important. You want a good fit. You want a right size. I personally really enjoy the mechanics gloves. They may not be specific to a lot of things we do, but I tell you, they do protect your hand quite nice. Now, with the COVID situation that's going on, something that I personally never really thought to carry at the time are disposable nitrile latex gloves. They'll be required. Most places you're going to visit are going to supply them, likely, but they are available to you. They're actually going to be packaged in small 10 and 20 pair groups. Probably look at getting yourself a set just so you have them in your car or have them in your bag when you travel. Who knows? It doesn't even have to be work related. If you're traveling for work and you're in we'll say an airport or along your travels, that is going to come up, and we do have those available, and we've even pre-bought some to have them in stock for you. Now, this may not pertain specifically to a lot of the sales folks on the call, but I do want to. It is an offering that we have. It's specific to the service folks. Some of you are out there. We definitely wanted to keep it on the list and keep it available to everyone. Lockout tagout. We should all know what that is. However, if you do need these products, if you are going on site, if you somehow are required to do, a field startup or just be, part of a field startup. So we are going to, the sales team is invited to go along with the service techs. So sometimes with everybody on site, you all need to provide a tag. I will say, be careful in the fact that you have to be trained and certified to apply a tag. I'm not advocating for any of the sales team to use one of these, but certainly the service team knows what this is, how to use it. It is available. You can get extras and, off the site, they are available to you. For the sales team, if you are in fact asked to use one of these, please check with your manager and everyone, and probably the service team, just to make sure that that is in case what you should be doing, or even if you should be participating in that, because it is something that you need to be trained and certified on. Okay, that was a quick synopsis to set the stage to show you everything available. Let's talk a little bit about I will call them the unusual items, the new normal for visiting customers and being out in the field and visiting factory sites. Sanitizer, that's a tough thing to get these days. We've pre-bought and procured some of this for you already. I would like to ask everyone to be somewhat respectful of not only Chromalox and everyone else here, but first responders. The availability of the stuff is slim in some cases, so let's not get carried away and stock our shelves. Buy what you need. It's there if you need it. So there is sanitizer that will be provided as an option. Actually, it'll be no cost on the website because we've already pre-bought it for you. There will be wipes and disposable gloves in different sizes. Certainly, I know me personally, when I flew right before the thing and before the outbreak, and I knew the outbreak was coming, I started carrying disinfectant wipes. Probably a good idea for all of you to have some. Thermometers to check your temperature. I'm not saying that this is something that the sales team's probably going to need, but there are possibly a case where you will need to check your temperature. If the site's requiring it, I have to imagine that they're going to do it themselves, but it's there. Face shields. Never would have thought I needed one of those, but I've seen now that places are opening up, they are requiring that. So you may need a face shield, so look into that. That will be available. And again, the N95 masks, they're on the site. Currently, they're unavailable, but they are procuring more. And there's the KN95 that is available and is acceptable in most cases as well. So with that, let me introduce you to the Wesco. It's nice that they have a little COVID molecule in the photo. Chromalox procurement website. You have Perry, Kelly, and Armando to thank for this, putting it together. I know I saw Kyle on the call too. He was a big help in this last year, doing it for the company wide. We've added the COVID items to the site, procured a lot of, or pre-bought some of the items that are going to be hard to get. And yeah, so that was a quick walkthrough of the PPE. Now I'm going to introduce you to that. I will tell everyone on the call, now that you're muted with Teams, you'll have to unmute yourself if you have any questions. So if anybody has any questions right now, I'd like to open that up. Silence is no questions. Okay, let's get started with the live demo. There is a PDF walkthrough as well. If you need something for reference, I will provide that to everyone on the call. You'll have it, file it on your desktop so you have it if you don't know how to use the website. You will get a login or an email from Wesco early next week. We're just finalizing a few items on the sheet. And also, keep in mind, if you see something, and this has already actually happened before we've even launched the site, if you see something or think of something that we need to add, let us know. We can add it. We certainly will. The idea is that you're out there, you're safe in your travels, and especially when you're visiting your customers and moving forward. So let's skip to that real quick. And here it is. This is the live version. I obviously already have my login. if you find something in their catalog you want to add, obviously this is everything in the equipment supply of Wesco. You let Perry or myself know. We will certainly do that. But when you log in, this is what you're going to see. From there, we have lists. We have lists to make it easy for you. Some of the lists are still being finalized. So you'll see them here. These are specific to the sales organization. Just to make it easy for you, what's available, what's pre-bought. Disinfectant, I showed you wipes. There's even a spray disinfectant that will be available. Please don't pay attention to the prices. That's per case, not per item. They're splitting them into the individual items, so they'll be able to package them and deliver them. Because we are very remote, they can disperse them to everyone in North America. So that's the whole purpose there. Some of these are still being added, so that's why there's not even an image yet, but they will be available for you starting next week. And then eye protection, I mentioned that before. We've got the face shield available. We've got the typical type safety glasses. Obviously, that's a case price, not a per price case. Again, to everyone on the call, there is actually a mechanism in here. So if somebody goes in and tries to order 100 of something, we will be notified. The idea is not to, deplete the supply. It's just to make sure that you have what you need. Speaking of things to be added after the fact, somebody was mentioning goggles, and Perry helped me pick out the right ones to provide as far as safety goggles, and we can add them, get them put in. We got that added in a matter of minutes. That it could be done the same day. If you see something you need, send us a note, send us an email. Hand protection is going to be a little odd when you go to look at it. Because they do generally come in a much larger box. You can probably see that. Wesco has agreed to actually take those larger quantities, which a lot of times we have to pre-buy. Take the disinfectant, for instance. We have to buy a whole lot of disinfectant to provide, to ensure that it's available to you. It comes in cases. You're going to be able to buy it by the bottle. So, how many bottles does it take that you would need? 3, 5, maybe. You don't need 20, 100, right? So just pay attention to that when you go to order. That is there. And on the gloves too, I forgot they're going to be packaged in, and I think I said 10 and 20, but I think 5 as well. And you'll see that on there. So when you actually go to an item that you're ready to buy or put into your cart, when you look at it, just ensure that you look at the quantity, multiples of what. And that way you're not over ordering, and I don't want somebody to think they're buying 10 of something when in reality they're buying 10 packs of something and get 100. Just be cautious. There's that helmet with the Chromalox on it, your hard hat. Like I said, it is available. Currently we got 19 of them, so that's nice. And this is a first pass, or I mean, this is an opening next week. If there's something you need, you let us know. You've got the vest, you've got the lockout tag out, the protective clothing I mentioned before. You've got the Tyvek, basically throwaway coveralls available to you now. Personally, I've never had them, but you know what? Probably need 1 or 2 pairs to have with me when I'm out visiting customers. We have the traditional FRP coveralls is available as well. And so that's pretty much what it is. You've got the thermometers. We talked about the respirators. Here's the M3, the N95 masks. They're going to come in boxes of 5. Again, unavailable at the moment. But we do have the KN95 here. And that is essentially what we could procure for now. But it is available. So that was taken care of there. Back on the respirators, you only ever need 1 respirator. If you get it fitted in size and the signed off on, much like you heard Perry mention before, then you can buy the replacement cartridges and go on from there. Just pay particular attention to the expiration as you do. So with that, you select an item. I'll select some of these. You'll put them in your cart. Unavailable. Well, it is available. For whatever reason, it's not on my cart. Go back for a second. You, for right now and going forward, you'll see no price on the Purell, or no, this is not Purell, I'm sorry, just the hand sanitizer. The gloves that are pre-bought, you'll see a price of $0, so you'll know that that's already pre-bought. When you go to put it in your cart, it won't come up as a price. And moving on from there, go through the standard process. We all have used our expense reports. You buy it with your credit card, it ships to you. We're just ensuring it's there, it's available, and then expense it as usual for now. The items pre-bought will not be charged. They'll come up as $0. Just ensure that that's right. And that is about all there is. I mean, we've all used the website and purchasing and all that, but the lists are available and all that should be clear. With that, I will open it up to any questions or comments.
Hey, Derek, this is Tim Malin.
Hey, bud. Hey, Tom.
Hey, how you doing? Just real quick, do you have an idea of how long the turnaround time would be, assuming that they have it on the list and it's in stock?
Well, it depends on how you ship it from there. You can select your shipping style. If you absolutely had to have it overnight, we could argue that's probably not good planning. The standard, I was told, is 3 to 5 days. This is using the Wesco network, so a lot of that stuff could ship. You may have. Oh, actually, it's a good point. If you see on the site some of these things that come up, you'll see. I keep going back to the disinfectant. So you see, this is in the standard distribution center available. So 957. But nationally, there's 1,648. So they're on the shelf somewhere. And so their job, right, as the distributor, is they work throughout their network to get them to you quicker. So, more than likely, Tim, you're in Chicago, anything that we order is not coming out of Pennsylvania. It's coming down the street at the Wesco there. So the 2 to 5 days does seem reasonable for just about everything. Does that make sense?
Yep, thank you.
Yeah, perfect. Good question. Thanks, Tim. Anybody else? I didn't look at the text questions. Perry, did you have anything? It is pretty straightforward. No?
I think this is a pretty good training session that you put together here, Derek. So good job. Of course, if anyone has any questions or need anything, they can reach out to us.
Absolutely. And speaking of training sessions, I know I'm behind on some of those due to some things. There are tons of training sessions available out there on the YouTube channel. We did the teams and Insightly earlier in the year. All the stuff from last year, which is well over 100 training videos on various topics, of commercial heat trace to sales techniques to designing our products, right? The more recent ones, the controls training, I did want to tell everyone on the call, we did the 202 last month. I'm still in the middle of breaking that up. The 101 was such a success, and it's very useful to your customers. So, please, feel free to share that and all that when we get it released. Some of the other trainings we've had more recently, again, all available on the YouTube site. There will be a SharePoint I'm putting together now. I'll have a landing page with all that, and a customer-facing one where the factory tour videos I've been working on recently will be available. And if any of you need any of those, certainly contact me. I can get you the links to run, and obviously we don't want those out for the general public, but we're happy to share with customers in the efforts of growing sales, right? So, Perry, I want to thank you for your help on this, on walking through the things. I know you're going to be handling the site going forward, the procurement site, but specific to sales, I'll still very much work through that. And there is a challenge to getting them to all the different locations, right, in North America. And this was the best path to ensure everybody had what they needed, or at least had the opportunity to have it available. Make sense?
Sounds good.
Derek, thank you. This is Kelly. I just want to, it's a quick thanks for both of you for putting this together and all the work that's, again, in the effort to be safe. That's the primary factor here. So we wanted to make sure you had access to it. So we decentralized it so people could order it and get it to them rather than having it in one place get Chromolux, and you had to request it, and the logistics of shipping things in and out. So respect that you have the access to it. We certainly want you to, be cognizant of the availability. Part of our protection is that if it's hard to get, we are going to try to pre-buy it, so we not only lock in the quantity but also the cost, as you know, in the supply and demand world. So, but we've got the support of operations for the surgical masks. Chromolux has purchased a large quantity of those. So we do have a large. What we're showing here primarily are the K masks that you may want to have and require. But for surgical masks, we have a large quantity of those through the operations and Mint Materials has purchased for the factories to have, and we can get those out to people from that stock that we have. Just want to make sure you're aware of that. Obviously, we're going to want to make sure you get what you need. We'll track the usage so we can kind of keep ahead of it as much as we can. And also, we have certainly dedicated as a key customer, as a supplier for us, we have account people supporting us. So if you're having trouble with the website, you're having trouble getting what you need, we'll engage the right people from Wesco. Probably Perry will, because he'll be the point person for it. But believe me, they want to help us, and so don't be shy. Don't let we'll facilitate getting the right people, getting what information you need. If it's not working, we'll adjust it. We're trying to get this rolling, but give us that feedback. And if you're working with us and we're working with Wesco, we'll make sure they're responding. But we appreciate everybody's attention to it. It may not be priority one today or tomorrow, but there's going to be a time when you're going to want to make sure you have this as you start interfacing or as things change. So again, thanks for your attention. Be sure to share the fact that this is recorded, so for others that didn't get to see it, we'll want to make sure everybody gets a chance to see this. And then the actual use of the website, we certainly have more details and ability to make sure you don't have any problems with that. So thanks again for all your attention and all the work that people have done to get us to this point.
And thanks, Kelly. And something you mentioned before everyone leaves, back to, we can adjust and add things as fast as we can. You can see that Perry and I just added something not minutes ago. So if you find something you need right away and you contact one of us, Wesco actually has given us the ability to create our own supply chain in that way. Another important thing, Kelly, and everyone on the call too, like I said, they're still splitting up some of the pieces and parts, and that will be available. You will actually see an email from them next week. It will probably come from Wesco direct, not from any of us. And here's the thing: you're gonna have to log in the first 24 hours, or that's all your temporary password is good for. Not a problem. It's just part of their system. I think it's a safety thing. We can reset your password, no problem. Just contact one of us. We'll click a button. You'll be all set. So that just look for that. That could be a possible frustration early on, but I just wanted to forewarn you of that. Great. Well, that's all I had for everyone. If you have questions, I'm happy to stick around and walk through any of this or show you any more if you need. If some of you want to stick around and maybe you have some items you would like to see added, we're all ears. Otherwise, thank you all. I hope you have a great weekend.
Yeah, hey, thanks. Derek.
Yeah.
I had one quick question. Is there also a possibility for branch pickup on any of this?
Boy, that's a good question. Instead of having it shipped, Kelly, I mean, that's maybe we may have to get back to you, Tim, but that's a great.
Yeah, we'll have to find out. We didn't ask that, so that's a good question.
Yeah, you're driving by a Wesco and hey, I need to pick this up. That might be a nice thing. But if they have it anyway, you're still going to buy it and probably expense it anyway.
Essentially, a will call order wherever it is. Place an order and have it for will call.
Yeah. Well, right. And I also thought of that too when some of us who travel further out of our territory, or even long distance, even in our territories, right, long drives, you may not want to load up all that stuff and have it. You could have it there waiting on you. That's a great idea. We'll find out, Tim, and get back to you. Okay.
Yeah, sounds great. This looks really cool.
Another quick comment before we let you go is, we're going to try to organize it. It can be very overwhelming at times to go into these lists and see all the different gloves. Get 24 different glove choices. So we're going to try to organize this as best we can with Perry's help to have it. Here's what you need for COVID. Here's the sales list. Here's, make it as simple as quickly as possible, because we don't want you to have to do a bunch of searches to find it. So we'll try to manage that. We have the ability, as Derek just said, to create the lists and organize this. So that's our intent, to keep it simple and efficient, so you can find what you need and not get frustrated with having to do a search for something.
Right, and also, Kelly, a good point with that. In these lists, and I showed you, I'll just go back to the front page. So it is the Wesco supply catalog. So, I mean, certainly you can look up a lot of stuff, but it may not be under our list. Our lists are going to pop up here. And these are things well, two things. Some of them have been pre-purchased, as Kelly had mentioned. So you definitely want to take advantage of those, because they've been pre-purchased for a reason. So they're available to you, and they're already been paid for. So, you've got that side of things. And also, some of these are specific to Chromalox, so you may want to, you have to stay in that realm. But